Welcome to Mariners Church. I'm Kurt. I'm the youth pastor here, and I'm glad that you joined us for this week and the 40 Days of Joy. Today, we're going to be doing some Christmas songs and then talking about the joy of people in our lives. I'm particularly joyful personally today because I'm expecting to hear the name of the person on our church staff that I'm going to be doing the Christmas gift exchange with. And I just got to be honest, I hope it's not Len. He's insane to buy for. It's all Starbucks all the time. I hate Starbucks. I don't want to go to Starbucks and buy stuff for Len. I'll tell you who's the easy one to buy for is Paul. Last year, I just went into Paul's office. I just grabbed a book off of his shelf. I rewrapped it and gave it back to him. He didn't even know. I hope it's Paul, not Len. Please, not Len.
Boy, I hope Kurt remembered to do the welcome today. Man, it can get really annoying when... Oh, I think this is the text for about the gift exchange. Let me see. Please, not Kurt. I don't want to... No.
Oh, here's the text.
I gotta buy for Kurt. Oh boy.
Let's sing. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. Joy to the earth, the Savior reign. Let all their songs implore, while fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains repeat with sounding joy. With sounding joy, repeat with sounding joy, unspeakable joy, and overflowing well, no tongue can tell. Joy, unspeakable joy, it rises in my soul, never lets me go. Sing, He rules. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of His righteousness, and wonders of His love, and wonders of His love, and wonders of His love. Joy, unspeakable joy, overflowing well, no tongue can tell. Joy, unspeakable joy, rises in my soul, never lets me go.
Well, we're in the last month of 2020, and whew, what a relief. People are saying 2020 was an epic fail, and someone composed a few clips of what 2020 is actually like. It's sometimes people say it's like this. And this. And this. And somebody actually came out with Barbie version 2020, and here you go. So we could all use a little bit more joy in life, and we're doing 40 Days of Joy because we just want to end 2020. We want to end this thing with joy. And now with the new restrictions that are coming out, boy, we need more joy than ever. Today, I'd like us to spend a few minutes talking about finding joy in others. I mean, finding joy in other people, like people in your family, like your in-laws. Your in-laws. And that's tough, isn't it? I mean, it can be really hard. How come? Well, because sometimes people drive us absolutely nuts. In fact, our worst frustrations as people, oftentimes actually are people around us. And our most frustrating times come with people that we're related to or people around us, cranky people, annoying people, bossy people, moody people, people whose masks don't cover their noses, and people who actually have a meatloaf recipe that you have to try. A guy in the Bible is writing, and he says this, "I take great joy and encouragement from your love." Now, I want that. I want to be able to look at everybody, and say, I take great joy and I take great encouragement from your love. Instead of people being a pain, we want them to be a joy. We want to find our source of joy in other people around us. I want time spent with them to be a joy. I want, when I think about them, it to be a joy. We're going to show a really cute clip, and you'll all say at the end of it, "Aww," and this will kind of help get you into the mood of what we're going to be spending the next few minutes talking about.
You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got troubles, I got them too. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. We stick together, can see it through, 'cause you got a friend in me. Yeah, you got a friend in me.
Some other folks might be a little bit smarter than I am, bigger and stronger too. But none of them will ever love you the way I do. It's just me and you.
And as the years go by,
Our friendship will never die. You're gonna see it's our destiny. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. Yeah, you got a friend in me.
Cute, huh? Wasn't that sweet? Hey, this is really true. God actually made you to find joy with other people. He really did. God's design for your life, my life, our life, is that we would find joy in other people. Way, way back early in the Bible says this, "The Lord said it's not good for man to be alone." He looked at Adam in the garden and saw that he was alone, and so what did God do? He made what? He made Labrador retrievers. But that wasn't quite enough, and God made another what? He made another person. God's design was for us not to be alone, but to interact, to have relationship, to have connection with other people around us, to know and be known, to love and to be loved. And Adam and Eve had joy in being known. There were no games they played. There was no pretend. They were completely open to one another. And I guess I would like to say never, ever, ever underestimate the value of having others in your life. Never do that, because you were made for that. You and I were made to have other people in our life. And for that relationship to become and be a joy. Now, the problem with that is not only were we made for other people, but we are also fallen people. And my fallenness bumps up against your fallenness, and my problems bump up against your problems, and my annoying habits bump up against your annoying habits. And therefore, the relationship that we want to be so filled with joy, it isn't. And it becomes a hassle, and it becomes a strain. John Ortberg wrote a book, a great title. It's called Everybody's Normal Until You Get to Know Them. And that's really true. You seem normal. Probably there are things in your life that aren't so normal. I might seem normal or not to you. I might seem normal to you until you what? Until you get to know me. You meet people and they seem fairly normal and fairly reasonable and in their right mind, and then you get to know them and they have the little things that begin to seep out, don't they? I mean, those little things that are there and needing to keep food separate on their plate when they're eating, or they don't put the dishes in the dishwasher correctly, or they drive weird, or they have annoying habits, or they give away movie endings. And all of a sudden you begin to realize over time their temper, their moodiness, their sensitivity, they're a little bit too touchy, they talk too much. And it begins to it kind of grates on you. It gets under your skin. And then we find most of our energy is not in the joy of connection, but actually our energy is drained in real frustration, wishing they were a little bit different here, or just a lot more of this, or a lot less of the other. And we start getting into the if-onlys, the if only. If only this person was like this, they'd be a whole lot easier to live with. If only they didn't do that, it would be a lot easier for us to spend time together. If only, if only. Okay? So how do we get to that flat-out joy of, you've got a friend in me? How do we get to that? And how can we cut out all the judgmentalism and criticism that keeps us from enjoying others? And how do we get to the point where we can really get the joy that we're supposed to have in the people around us? And here's where Jesus helps us by both modeling and also by teaching. First of all, here's what we can do. We have to start looking at people the way that God does. We have to look at them exactly the way that God does. The one thing I love about the Bible is it reveals not only Jesus' teaching, but also his real-life encounters with real-life people. And you may have heard of this story, and it's one of those stories in which you just get a great mental picture. And I'm going to read a part of this story. It starts out this. It says, Jesus entered Jericho, and he made his way through the town. There was a man there named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector in the region, and he had become very rich. He tried to get a look at Jesus, but he was too short to see over the crowd. So he ran ahead, and he climbed up a sycamore fig tree beside the road, for Jesus was going to pass this way. Now, do you get the image in your head? I mean, do you kind of just see it in your mind? A guy named Zacchaeus, and we find out from what it says a few things. He was short, he was rich, and he was a tax collector, and he was good at climbing trees. Now, I would not find joy in a guy like Zacchaeus. I don't think I'd like him very much. First of all, he made a ton of money off of people, that his own countrymen and people in his own city. I don't like people that take advantage of other people. It also tells me he was trying to see over the crowd, and the people wouldn't let him see it. It means that they were kind of blocking him out. I don't think anybody in town liked him very much. I assume because of that, he was arrogant and bitter and angry. I don't think anybody liked him. I'm not sure I would like him. I'm not sure if I were around him, I'd just say, hey, I can't wait to see Zacchaeus. There's a great Bible principle, and it says this. So from now on, we don't think of anyone from a human point of view. And that means we don't look at people the way we used to. We don't look at, and we shouldn't look at people the way that we used to look at them. Now, how do we usually measure people, or how did we used to measure people? Well, a lot of times it's the color of their skin, or their income level, or their personality, or the clothes they wear, or their personality. And here is one. We oftentimes will look at people and ask the question, do they enhance my life, or are they a bother to my life? Because I will value you based on whether you enhance my life, make my life better, and make my life easier, or whether you make my life harder and more difficult. Do you make my life easier? Do you make my life harder? You know, if they would just wash their car once in a while, I wouldn't have to look at it across the street being all dirty. Or if they didn't have bad coffee breath, or if they'd get with a program, or if they dressed their age, or if they weren't so conservative, or if they weren't so liberal, or if they weren't libertarian, or if they weren't so vegan, or Second Amendment right person, or. And all of a sudden, we begin to look at, and we begin to see the faults and the flaws in other people, and they begin to grate on us. Makes my life harder. And joy is just sucked out of us when we look at them from an earthly perspective. Well, what does it mean we're not supposed to see them from a human point of view? What it means is we now begin to look at them through God's eyes, the way that God would see them. Last week, we talked about finding joy in ourselves, the way God created us and made us. And we look at the intricacies of our creation and the skills God gave us and the tendencies that we have, because God made us perfect and right. In fact, the verse that we shared, it's in the Bible, it says that we are God's masterpiece. We are his workmanship, his masterpiece. And he's created us anew in Christ Jesus so that we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. If we're his masterpiece, then what? They are too. And if God wanted someone like us in this world, exactly like us, then we got to say that God wanted someone exactly like them in this world too. And he has a place and a plan for them as them to be in this place, in this world. And their uniqueness allows them to have a place and a purpose and a niche to fill that God only has for them. Okay, the next thing. We need to realize the problem with others is most likely the problem with me. And this one is really true. The Bible would say this: not a single person on earth is always good and never sins. And I want to say, see, there it is. It's talking about them. There it is. It's talking about that person right there. But as soon as I read that, it also describes another person, and it is describing me. There is a great verse about loving each other. It says this: love bears all things, it believes all things, hopes all things, it endures all things. And if I'm not doing that with others, the problem is not about them. The first problem is about me. That whole thing that Jesus said about, and it's a famous saying, he says, the speck in the log, how can you see the speck in your brother's eye or in the other person's eye when you've got a big log sticking out of your own eye? In my eye, there would be a lack of love for the other person. Yeah, the other person may boast about their meatloaf recipe way too many times, and I might get so annoyed with it that I don't want to hope and believe and endure. I won't want to love them. The problem is not with them and their crazy meatloaf recipe. The problem is with me and my lack of love for them and my lack of patience for them. Once freed from needing them to meet my expectations and my standards and my agenda for their life, I'm able to enjoy them and find joy in who they are. It says this: when Zacchaeus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and called him by name. Zacchaeus, he said, quick, come down. I must be a guest at your home today. If I was sitting in the crowd, standing there in the crowd, I would say, what in the world? This guy? Zacchaeus? Him? Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and took Jesus to his house in great excitement and joy. Okay, last thing. Help unlock who God made him to be. Here's this verse again. Your love, dear brother, has brought me great joy, much encouragement. You have cheered the hearts of all of God's people. We can begin to see how God and why God made them. You know, we get back to Zacchaeus, and Jesus said, I'm having lunch at your house. It's your house I'm going to. All the people saw this, and they began to mutter, man, he's gone to be the guest of a sinner. I mean, he's gone to be a guest of the most annoying guy in town. And that's how they saw him. Listen how Jesus is able, by his love and belief and joy in Zacchaeus, is able to unlock some things in Zacchaeus' heart. It says this, but Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, look, Lord, here and now I give half my possessions to the poor. If I've cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount. Because of Jesus' steadfast belief and enduring love and patience and care, seeing him as a real person, he was now unlocked to be who God made him to be. How? By Jesus' acceptance and Jesus' love. I just can't help thinking how well that lunch must have gone. How much joy must have been in that household. I think how much joy must have been in Jesus' heart when he saw Zacchaeus, someone that no one even liked very much, turn his heart around. Life is just too short, and the gift of people around you is too important not to have joy in every single person. I mean, in their uniqueness and in their personality. And you can spend your time, we can spend our time looking for the bad and for the weird and for the annoying, which is nothing more than me trying to see myself better, or I can begin to see them God's way, created, unique, and special. And if joy comes from within, it comes from my within, then my within has to be altered. I have to alter the inside part of me and the way I look at people, the way I treat people, the way I consider people. And unless my inside is altered, then believe it or not, I'm out of God's power to prevent me from being miserable. Unless the inside of our lives are changed and altered, we actually move ourselves away from God's power and God's ability to prevent us from being miserable. And that's why we say again and again, let God's life come inside you. Because that's where the joy comes. It comes from the inside. And boy, maybe we find you found your status in being able to put people down or find the flaw in that person or find that nuance, that characteristic that can somehow make you feel better about yourself. I hate to say it, it's a cheap way of feeling good about yourself, and you know it. Instead, we can find delight in the uniqueness of every person and find actually strength and then enjoy in how God made them and created them. It is possible to have joy in others. It's a God work. It's a God work. And maybe you've just been burdened the last few months or weeks or since Thanksgiving with just the way that your attitude has been towards somebody. Or maybe it's just simply you're tired of not finding joy in people. The critical heart that's beginning to kind of create a hard varnish over your heart. I'm going to invite you right now, if you would, to maybe bow with me. Because I believe in a God who changes us from within. A God who really wants to work in your life and in your heart. And so I'm going to throw a question out at you. Who is it that right now you think is just a pain, hard for you to love? You find no joy in their presence. Who's your tough case? Someone that you really struggle with loving. Understand that God made them. God loves them. Do you? Can you, right now, say, God, I believe you made them. I believe that you created them the way that they are. I believe right now it's my role to learn how to love them, be patient with them, to bring out the best in them, to overlook the challenges. Because God, maybe they are the way they are because I have not loved them enough and they've never seen love displayed to them, and so make me that instrument to show them love. Would you pray for them? Would you ask God to protect you from finding any fault and flaw in their life or in anyone's life? That you would see the good part that God made. So Father, I pray, God, Lord, help us. Help us to look with delight and joy at every single unique creature you've made. Change us and change us from within. Thank you for your love for us, that you saw us as broken, weird, odd, not normal people. And you reached out and you grabbed onto us. And we thank you in Jesus' name.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves
Great story told by Tony Campolo. Tony is a pastor and an author and a professor, and he had just flown from the East Coast to Hawaii, and because of the time change and the jet lag, he wasn't able to sleep at night. And in the middle of the night, he writes this. He says, "So I got up and I walked outside of the hotel I was staying down the street to a diner. When I went into the diner at 3 in the morning, the only people that were there were the guy behind the counter and a group of ladies sitting at a table. As I kind of eavesdropped on their conversation, I discovered that they were prostitutes. One of them, named Agnes, was telling the other ladies that she was going to have a birthday tomorrow, and that in all her life she had never had a birthday party. When they left, I went to the guy behind the counter and discovered that these ladies came in at the same time every night. And I had an idea. I asked the guy behind the counter if I could throw a birthday party for Agnes the next night. So at 2:30 the next morning, I was back at the diner. I'd picked up some crepe paper and decorations at the store and had made a sign out of the big pieces of cardboard that read, "Happy birthday, Agnes." The woman that did the cooking at the diner must have gotten the word out on the street, because by 3:15, every prostitute in Honolulu was in the place. It was wall-to-wall prostitutes and me, the preacher. At 3:30, the door of the diner swung open, and in came Agnes and her friends. I had everybody poised and ready, and when she came in, we all screamed, "Happy birthday!" Never had I seen a person so flabbergasted. Her mouth fell open, her legs buckled, and when we finished singing, her eyes moistened. And when we brought out the cake, she started to sob. But she didn't want anybody to eat the cake. She wanted to keep it as a memory of the fact that she'd had a birthday party. She said she lived around the corner and she was going to take the cake right then to her house. She walked out. We were so stunned that she had left, we didn't know what else to do. So I just led in prayer. It was the only thing I knew to do. So I led in prayer for Agnes, that she would come to Christ and her life would be different and that she would have a great birthday. When I finished my prayer, the guy behind the counter said, "Hey, you never said you were a preacher. What kind of church do you belong to?" And my answer was this: I belong to the kind of church that throws parties for prostitutes at 3:30 in the morning. God's love for you was reckless. It was sacrificing. And it was given. Let's have that for others as well.
There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me.
Thank you for being with us today. We're so glad that you've taken time to join us through this 40 Days of Joy. In particular, today as we looked at the joy of being with others and what they mean to us in our lives. I trust you were encouraged by the music and the message today, and that you will continue to lean into the joy that is discovered through knowing Jesus Christ. Again, thanks for being here. I do want to add that if you are struggling uniquely through this time of shelters in place and lockdowns and purple tears, that you would really reach out to our pastors, our prayer team, our life groups, to be involved and connect with others so that you can find that encouragement that God has through other people. We'd really love to participate and connect with you during these times. So let us know. Again, thank you for being here. I hope that you reserve your gift for the Christmas Eve, Christmas in a Box, that can be sent to you so that you can participate with that service. The deadline's coming up, so please go ahead and let us know so that we can get one right out to you. We are so excited as we end this service with joy to the world. Christ has come. Let's rejoice and celebrate with this familiar carol. But listen to the words. They're exciting and they're wonderful, and there is such truth there that comes. And may your Christmas and your holidays and the weeks leading up to it be filled with joy. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Come on, let's sing Joy to the World one more time. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. Come on, joy! Joy, unspeakable joy, overflowing well, no tongue can tell. Joy, unspeakable joy, rises in my soul, never lets me go. Sing that again. Joy, unspeakable joy, overflowing well, no tongue can tell. Joy, unspeakable joy, it rises in my soul, never lets me go. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Go in peace.
Hi, I'm Mary.
Hola, Iglesia de Mariners. I am Yvette. So, Mary, can you tell us a little bit about the Encouragement Basket Ministry here at Mariners Church?
I'd love to. For over 25 years, our church has done a ministry we call the Encouragement Basket or Bag Ministry. And we've given out over 5,000 over the years, and we've given away tens of thousands of dollars to gift cards to people who are financially hurting. But this isn't just for financial pain. It's for also people who have been alone, they've maybe lost a job, lost a loved one, and we just want to come alongside because Christmas can be a very challenging time of year for a lot of people. So we've done this every year, and this year because of COVID, we're going to have to do it very, very differently, but we wanted still to go forward and do this, and we want it to be safe, and make people feel comfortable. And so it's gonna look completely different. We have a lot of surprises in store. We're really excited, and there'll be an email coming out through Marta for life groups so that you can participate and suggest your neighbors and friends, take ownership, create them, and give them out. And that's the way it's gonna look this year, and we're really excited about some of the big changes, and you get to be part of it. And I'm super excited that we get to continue on this year. God bless you all, and have a wonderful Christmas season.